right, now we're gonna put some color on the sky. This is very, very important because this is gonna give us the light for our painting. So I'm gonna take some yellow, yellow, and white. There's my cad yellow and my yellow ochre and white. Actually, let's go a little more on the cad yellow side. Right over here, I'm going to lay this down. Oh, this is going to be good stuff. You can see why the burnt umber is appropriate. I don't ever recommend starting with a tone that's competing with what you've got. That's why I'm not going to put a blue, you know, and then try to paint yellow on top, because even though it's dry, you'll still get green through dry brush blending. So yeah, don't do that. Brighten that spot up just a little. Then as I work outward, a little more moisture in the brush. Not too much water, but just a little bit is good. I'm going to allow that to feather out. This over here as well, for sure, need that to feather out. Oops, I lost my tree, but that's okay. All right, looks good. Actually, I kind of still see my tree through there. I'm going to go with a little bit of red into this tone. Not much, just a tiniest little bit of red. Water to thin it down. Sometimes it's nice to have your mister bottle in hand when you're working on the sky. If at any time your sky dries out on you, you can stop, let it completely dry. Do not paint while this is tacky. You will ruin it. So as soon as it starts to set up and dry, you need to stop, allow it to dry and cure completely. And then you can proceed using dry brush blending techniques, more like glazing. In other words, a thin paint over your dry paint. This area is in particular, actually the whole thing's dry, but that's the area we're concerned with. It needs to be dried and cured and like nice and solid. If you get in here where it's still kind of wet, and you start scrubbing, guess what? You're going back to the brown. We don't want that. So we've got my custom tapered round brush, and let's load it up with some yellow ochre, titanium white. Actually right there, it's got our cad yellow in it as well. Just go right into that, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. I do want more, a little touch of red. I want a little more warmth to that color. Fairly wet. See the water on my palette, and I'm using that water. So if you didn't have water on your palette, you would need to take your mister bottle and add some to the pile. Right up here, I'm going to begin to bring out some beautiful little clouds. Now, because this is acrylic and not oil, I have a little bit more, not a lot, but a little bit more flexibility when it comes to using yellow against blue. This will make green. Yellow and blue dry brush will make green. You're like, I was even talking to somebody about that recently. They were like, what do you mean you can get green when your paint is dry? Well, it's because of transparency. You're seeing two layers at the same time. So you most definitely will get green. Like if you had clear plastic in two different colors, if you had a red or not a red, but if you had a blue and a yellow piece of clear plastic and you put them two together, you got green. Same exact thing here with acrylic paint. However, you have a lot more freedom than you do with oils where it's physically mixing. That's for sure. So usually when I paint acrylic, I like to push the edge of it, because yellow and blue together are so pretty, but they're kind of hard to do. So that's why anyway, all that to say, isn't it nice to have that yellow up there? Here's a little more yellow on white, so it's a little brighter. Your acrylics will dry at least one shade darker. So you need to paint a little brighter than you want it. Or you can come back once it is dry and do another coat. I've missed my palette, and I've got my number 6 synthetic brush. I'll get that wet with water, and I'm going to just do a quick underpainting here to this barn. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy. I'm going to take some red, green, brown, white, lots more red. There we go. Red and green make a real pretty brown, but also adding brown. I don't know why. Here's a little blue. I'm just trying to get kind of a warmish, grayish color. A little more blue. If you want to mix just brown and white together, that's fine as well. I like color. I can't help it. I'm adding the blue slowly. There it is, that's pretty. And I'm leaving it marble mixed. Now up here, yeah, burnt umber and white would be okay for the people that don't like mixing color. Gonna just drag down, but see how it's warmish, grayish brown. I'm just going to literally fill this area in no particular way, just filling it in. I guess there is a particular way. I'm going vertically, aren't I? Because that indicates, it represents boards. What's awesome about this is if you get something that's off a bit, perspective or anything else, your excuse is, well, this is an old rundown barn, like all the barns around here. You ride on the back roads and you get all these old weathered barns, and they're falling over and they're still using them. Blue, so that we've got just a mixture of warm and cool. Anyway, the point is, look at all that wonderful character we've added, absolutely on purpose. That's what you do. Just want to take a second and let you know this video is really sponsored by our Patreon members. So if you're not a Patreon member, I highly suggest that you click the link in the description and at least check it out, because you can sign up for just 1 month and try it, see if you like it. I've got all kinds of full-length lessons on there depending on what tier you sign up for. We also do the occasional critique video where I'll go in and kind of show you some areas where you can improve your painting. You'll send in pictures of your painting, just random things like that that are a lot of fun. Monthly live streams, that's probably the most fun. We just get to hang out. You can chat in, ask questions, and I'll answer them live as I'm doing a painting. Honestly, Patreon is probably one of the most, if not the most fun part of this whole painting journey for me. Really has been Patreon. It's amazing because I get to interact with you guys. So I'm super thankful for all of you Patreon members. And if you're interested, you can click the link in the description. And all right, let's get back to the video. Now I'm going to take my burnt umber and black, mix them together 50-50. It's time to do this beautiful big old tree here. I just love the way that that tree sort of fell out of my brush during the sketching phase, and so I'm going to try to keep the shape pretty well the same. I mean, that root ball there is really neat. Now, as I work up the tree, I'm going to do my best here to kind of keep it consistent with where I want it. You know, where we determined we wanted it earlier. Yeah, this is no more complicated than just simply drawing with a pencil. You know, a tree shape, a basic tree shape. You're not having to do anything other than make sure that the canvas is covered with enough paint that it's actually going to appear nice and dark. I'm going to make that tree trunk a little fuller, a little thicker. I think that'll be good for the tire swing. There we go. All right, we're going to go ahead and paint the grass, which may be the most fun part of the whole painting. I'm going to take some cad yellow, a little bit of yellow ochre. I'm quite literally scooping them up on the brush. And we're going to work in small sections. Right here, if you've never done this with me, just watch the process. You'll understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. Take my cad yellow, yellow ochre, white, and just sprinkling in a lot of paint. You can do this in acrylic and in oil. It works well in both ways. I don't care about my tree trunk. I don't care if I cover up 50% of my tree trunk. I really don't care. I know where it is. That's the main thing. Take a little sap green and throw in there as well. More of my cad yellow. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is, so here's my sunlight. It's kind of from behind the tree. And it's going to flow through the painting like this. And I'm going to have these beautiful shadow areas. Now I can't do very much at once. This is going to set up and dry on me. So I'm going to go just this far. I'm going to rinse my brush out with water, because it's so easy to clean the brushes with water. Take a little bit of brown, sap green. If I don't answer all your questions here, you know, just keep watching, because I'm going to do this several more times and you'll probably get a grasp on what I'm doing. But I'm just laying, I think this may be easier in oil. I actually learned to do this first in acrylic. This is more of an acrylic technique first of all, and I don't know of anybody else. I never watched anybody do it with oil. That's a better way to say it. Okay, but I actually think it's easier in oil because you don't have to race against the clock. Now I'm going to take what I did right there is I took a clean, dry brush. You can just wash yours out. I'm setting it down and I'm pushing it up. I'm not pulling it down. It looks like I'm pulling it down and up, but I'm actually going up. I'm removing it completely, lowering the brush, putting the brush back down and pushing it back up, removing the brush. See, I got to go quick here because I'm going to run out of time. But I can fluff. I actually don't care about the barn because I'm going to put bushes against it. But you can see that I'm just fluffing this. Get your edges done first. So I've allowed this to dry completely. I actually used the hairdryer on it. And you'll notice that kind of evens everything out a little bit. And again, there's no texture to it hardly at all. So all that globby paint has just been flattened out. Okay, so let's go ahead and take so that's, again, very important that that is dry. That has to be dry before we start the next step. So we're gonna do the shadow. I'm gonna take some sap green, yellow ochre, burnt umber is my shadow tone, at least for the background. Oh, a little blue. Shadows should be cool, a little blue. A little teeny touch of red, and a little teeny more touch of blue. Okay. Yeah, oh, that's so much better. I don't see a difference, but I see the difference. All right, over here on the right side, actually, sorry. All set up to do the left side by the tree. I want to see what the barn looks like. I'm going to just begin to scrub this in. Actually, I'm going too light. Let me get a little more color. Red, green, blue is my most important part of the mix. Then a little yellow ochre, a little burnt umber. Let's go ahead and get a lot of that in here. Boom. Okay, and then to add to that, I'm going to add more of a purple, honestly. Not too much white, blue and red. I'm going to sprinkle that. And we're going to, of course, do the same technique. There we go. And then a little bit more white in with some of that. So you kind of have three colors going. Okay. That looks horrible on the screen. Leave that sit there. Take a clean, dry brush and fluff it. And there we go. Fluff that edge. Obviously, this edge is going to be seen quite a bit because of the contrast. This is, I cannot tell you how forgiving this is, because if you don't like it, you can let it dry and paint over it. You are not locked in to this at all. So don't approach this with any kind of worry, because it just isn't that important. It's so forgiving. Get some darker colors here and just go and build up a little bit of a mound here where the bush is. And I'll just take my finger and blend it. All right, now my dark areas have completely dried, so all of my canvas now is dry. So what I want to do is, this is a very, again, that's an important step. Don't miss that. That has to be dry. My palette is wet because not only have I been misting it quite a bit, but I also, of course, didn't hair dry the palette. It's another reason why the hair dryer is nice. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow, yellow ochre, sap green, basically the same color as the little teeny tiny bit of red. Let's not do any white. There is white in that color already because it's kind of left over there. And now I've got to remove some of that paint on the paper towel, because this is dry brush blending, so that means you don't want much in the brush. When you're dry brush blending, the paint in your brush is wet, but there's a very small amount, small quantity of that paint. And so because this is dry, I can actually get a softer blend using dry brush blending between my dark and my light. Now, are there other ways to do this? Absolutely. This is the way I just decided to do it today. I feel like it's a pretty solid beginner way to do it in some ways, because you're not fighting keeping the paint wet to make your blends. I'm letting it dry and then dry brush blending. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a little safer. You do it any way you want to. Another way you could have done this, thought about doing it, was doing all of your grass with highlight, every bit of it, and then coming back and just scrubbing your shadow on top. That would have worked as well. Totally would have worked. I think there might have been less variation, because I got a lot of variation in there. I want this to be a little bit lumpy because the grass is a little bit lumpy, but also at the same time fairly straight because the barn is straight. There you go. You can see I'm just tapping it now. I'm not doing any crunching or anything. I'm just tapping it and allowing those bristles of the brush to create the soft feathered edge. And I'm building it up slowly rather than quickly, right? So that I have room to stop, slow down if I don't like it, you know. Actually, I think I'm gonna carry that highlight over a little. Yeah, let's see, I've got room to change it. I've got time to play with it. It's not a big deal. Now I'm gonna take some white and a little bit of red and a little bit of blue, but mostly red, white, add a little yellow ochre, Yeah, I'm just trying to get a warm color, marble mixed. I took a break for a few minutes, got a cup of coffee, so my palette's starting to dry out, but that's okay. It's one nice thing about acrylics, you can take a break, come right back, and things really don't change other than your palette drying out. A little darker on that color. There we go. All right. So I gotta get a little more. Now I'm gonna mist my barn. Everything obviously is bone dry up here. And I'm going to just lay on a little highlight to my tin roof. By misting that canvas, I'm able to kind of get some of these blends and whatnot without it being too difficult. You know, it's soft. It softens my color. Otherwise, it'd be kind of sharp. But that softens it. Okay, good. That helps. Yeah, there's just that makes a big difference. I may take a yellow ochre and red, just real briefly. I don't need to spend a whole lot of time on this. Yellow ochre red and a little bit of that white. And I'm going to just put it along the outside of that because there should always be highlight on the outside edge, not shadow. Okay, and drag that down. Kind of a nice sharp, yeah, and there we go. A couple of strokes, maybe a patch or something on the roof. I don't know, just, you know what I mean? Just, I stand back and look at it. Just to kind of give it, oh, that's it. Wow, that helped, that line, I think, helped to sharpen it up a little. Now, I'm going to take some burnt umber, black, right in that dirty brush. There's some white in it because of the dirty brush. And with the burnt umber black and then a dirty brush, I'm going to just touch in a little bit of that. I don't want to go so bold with my shadows that it makes it feel too crispy. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Part of the reason I love this barn so much already is just because it feels like it could melt back into the sky, and I don't want to lose. Honestly, I should stop right there. Except for this one spot I don't care for. It looks like this metal's not laying flat, and I'll change that by adding a little highlight to it, like so. Now it looks like it's laying flat. Yeah. Anyway, like I said, I don't want to lose that effect of it feeling like it could almost melt away into the background. Now I'm going to highlight the tree trunk with some yellow ochre, white, and a little red, and just right up in here. Just dabble on a little highlight. Starting with kind of a mid-tone, we'll work our way to the light, to the final highlight. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be covered with leaves. And it's just a tree, so it doesn't need to be perfect anyways, does it? In fact, the more imperfect I think you get with it, the better. Try to leave a bit of a gap there for shadow. Could be kind of interesting. We want to make our trees as interesting as possible. So much of the time, I say we kind of get, at least it's easy to get into a rut. But try to let these things become very, very rough and interesting with it, you know, as much attention to that detail as possible without it going weird, of course. There we go. That's kind of pretty. Haven't done much to it. A few brush strokes, highlight, yellow ochre white, a little cad yellow, and just a little highlight on this thing. I'm just touching it to create the bark. Just literally touching it with the side of the brush, allowing just the way the brush was made, that shape, to really do the bark for me. There you go. Anything you want to touch to soften it, just do that. Quick touch, boom, boom. Good to go. Good to go. Not a bad tree for the 3 seconds I put into it. Blue and white and red. Blue, white, and red. Shadow side. Literally just going to go boop, 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 boop. Hope my hand doesn't cover the shot, but just boop, boop, boop. A little bit in the shadow areas. What that does is it just creates form, a little texture, a little life in the shadows. I love it. Okay, we're done. Now this canvas, this tree is dry, and I've got a regular number 4 bristle brush. I'm going to moisten it with water and then dry that on the paper towel. There's some moisture in the brush. That's important to note. Over here I've got some brown, sap green, red, yellow ochre. I'm going to mix them up, marble mixed, and smoosh a little black and smoosh my brush. Pop it out. See, if you smoosh your brush on the palette, you know it's going to work. If you just boop, 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 it's not gonna work. You got to smoosh it so it looks like that on the palette. Now, I'm gonna come up here and start in my darker areas and work outward. Don't start at the out and work in. Start on the inside of the tree and work outward, because you can grow your tree and expand it a little here, a little there, and you won't overdo it. And because let me tell you what, it's easier to add a little more. And it takes a lot of time to remove a tree. Better off going slow. It's supposed to be another tree or something kind of over here. Now look, I'm running out of paint. It's starting to become kind of blobby. When you start out, it actually is better. See that? So it gets more paint. And then you go back to those individual leaves. This is the same technique you would use with the big flat. You can do it with a big flat blender brush, but your leaves are bigger. Now I want smaller leaves here in my painting right now. Just literally leafing out the tree. Okay. It's not as dark as you could. You could actually go darker. So that's good. We'll make a note of that. We may want to add black to the middle. We've got that option because we didn't go dark as black to begin with. Highlights kind of from underneath and behind, so a little darker on the top perhaps. Oops, starting to run out of paint. A little more solid over here maybe, a little darker, yeah. Now I'm going to do something I don't usually do. I'm going to paint a tire swing. For that I'm going to start here with some brown and black and red because it's a warm painting. Brown, black, and red. I'm going to mist, put some mist on that so that it's fairly wet right here. This is going to be my tire swing color, not the rope color. The rope's going to start probably right there, and my tire swing is going to live here. I don't want it to look like it's too far up where the child would have to like jump to reach it. So something like that I think is appropriate. Tire swing. Have I ever done one of these? I probably have, but probably never quite this large. There we go. Boom. Okay, and then here's some white and red and yellow ochre and dirty brush. And I'm just gonna go with a nice, beautiful accent highlight right around that tire swing. Honestly, we don't need much. And then of course it's a three-dimensional thing. So we've got to have some highlight on the inside as well. It's like painting a little donut. That's all it is. And then do I have some blue and white left over? Blue and white and red for the tree trunk. I didn't, so I had to mix it up again. It was dry. But I can just put a spot of texture on that tire swing. And a spot of black in there as well. Darken that side up. It was a little too bright. And it's up to you how perfect you want to make it. I think that's probably sufficient right about there. Now let's get the rope in. For that I'm just going to use a light-ish color, yellow ochre, and dirty brush. And actually I'm going to go boom, one side through the dark, one side through the light. Dark on one side, light on the other. So dark, dark, light. All right, here we go. Standing straight in front of this canvas. I'm just going to go and pull it down in a straight line. Because gravity is the thing. That's good enough. There it is. Yeah, that's not a bad little tire swing. Now I'm going to take some yellow ochre and white on my microfilbert brush. We're going to begin to lock in, do some beautiful little details, some of these smaller things. So this is just part of acrylic painting. You get all this and then you're like, oh, the thing I did a while ago is now feels too dark. That's normal acrylic painting. So what do? You come back in and you highlight again. Now this time I'm going to actually try to add a little bit of boards. Rather than just glazing it, I'm going to go thicker paint. That will again help to build up it up, you know what I mean? Build up the highlight, the brightness, because I'm putting on more paint, more opaque, and it'll just be way better, show up way brighter. Put a little cad yellow in there as well. The real bright spot there. Oh, there we go. Boom. Yep, right around that. Looks okay. It just needs to be, it's not that I need it a whole lot sharper, I just want it brighter. Ooh, I want that golden light to show. It's starting to show. I've got my custom angle filbert or dagger brush, another name for it. And I'm going to actually mist my palette. And I'm going to mix up some blue, brown, black, green, red, all my dark colors. And then I'm going to come in and just poke through some of my yellows. See how I'm poking through? I'm sorry for all the people that are very analytical and rigid. This must be painful to watch, but that's what I'm going to do to load my brush. Now, I'm going to come up here to the upper right and very most extreme upper right. And I'm just going to place in a few strokes here and there. Boom, boom, boom. You see the first stroke's kind of yellow ochre-y because that's what I stabbed into, but very quickly you'll see that it becomes all those colors that we were mixing in. I don't want much of this because that cloud is so beautiful, but I just want enough that it feels like I'm, oh, there it is. I'm closing in that area just a little with some leaves from some sort of a tree that's sort of hanging in from the side here. Oh, I got dark on the edge of that brush, so I'll just boop, 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 boop. There it is. Good, and then back into my yellows. A little white there, just what's on the palette. I'll just pop in a couple distinctive highlights. Okay, and I'll connect it with. It's pretty. Kind of trying to get a little bit like a Donna Dewberry, one stroke kind of shadow and highlight all in one. It's kind of what I'm going for there. Okay, now I'm going to do some liner brush details. So for that, I'm going to use a liner brush. I'm going to take some water and any color that you like left over on the palette. I typically don't mix. And then another trick, you can use your mister bottle to highlight, to thin your colors. There we go. You'd be using the mister bottle to highlight too if you had as much going on as I do making these videos. There we go. The liner brush is now working. The liner brush, you'll find that if you're jumping between oils and acrylics like I do, which is why I reference oil all the time, because I'm all the time jumping between them, you'll find that it takes significantly wetter paint with acrylic to do the liner brush. With oil, it seems like you can get away almost with peanut butter on the liner brush, and it sort of works. But with acrylic, you need it quite runny as water, basically, to get it to come off that brush. One more thing I want to put in there is a little shadow to our tire swing. Now is about as good a time as any to do it. I'm going to take some burnt umber, sap green, and water, is what that is. Burnt umber, sap green, and water. And it's 3 feet up in the air, so that shadow's going to be over here somewhere. I'm going to super not carefully, but like with a lot of restraint, going to scumble a little what could be sort of shadowy thing happening that could be from that tire swing. If you don't like it, you can take a baby wipe or something and just rub it away, wet paper towel. But just, there it is right there, kind of, sort of. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Remember to subscribe if you're not already, and click the like button. It helps me out a lot. Stick around, watch a couple more videos, and stay inspired.